Bernie Sanders, at the end of last week, was on Rachel Maddow's program on MSNBC, and he brought up the topic of the corporate media. Now, he brought that up on the Young Turks first and said, yeah, well, who owns the media? And it's very relevant to how they might be covering the race. And now I've seen him mention that several times, and I love that he brought it up on MSNBC. So let's watch.
So we have got the demand of corporate media, and that's going to be hard because this is against their own best interest. NBC is owned by who?
Comcast, our overlords.
All right, yeah. Comcast is not one of the most popular corporations in America, right? Mm-hmm. All right, et cetera, et cetera. And I think the American people are going to have to say to NBC and ABC and CBS and CNN, you know what? Forget the political gossip. Politics is not a soap opera. Talk about the real damn issues facing this country.
Right. Now, he didn't even mention, he was too polite to mention, that Comcast and Time Warner, which owns CNN, are among the top 10 donors to Hillary Clinton's campaign over her lifetime. Now, they can say, oh, no, it's just the employees of Comcast and Time Warner. Yeah, a lot of those employees are the lobbyists for Comcast and Time Warner. Which side they're on is not a mystery. Follow the money. You have your answer very, very clearly. Suffice it to say that not a lot of Comcast and Time Warner lobbyists have given money to Bernie Sanders. So, gee, I wonder if that affected their coverage as they asked one leading negative question after another to Bernie Sanders, and I think treated Hillary Clinton with kids' gloves. And I'm not just saying that. We proved that over and over with video throughout this campaign. Now, even Huffington Post frames it this way in explaining what went down that night. They say, of course, MSNBC is a corporate media outlet that is widely seen as a Democratic version of Fox News because of the perceived sympathies of many of its political talk shows. Now, I don't think that's an of course at all. First of all, a lot of progressives have been removed from MSNBC. I don't know if they missed that trend. Second of all, they've got a 3-hour block that I think got extended to 4 hours in the morning that is nothing but Republican talking point, one after another on Morning Joe. Joe Scarborough is a former Republican congressman. Anyone who thinks that Joe Scarborough is not a total right-winger lives in the Washington bubble where you assume that all those right-wing positions are the centrist positions or moderate or mainstream positions. They are not. They are way right-wing. Okay, so now they continue with these assumptions. Again, Huffington Post, which leans progressive and has great writers, but look at their assumptions. They say some observers have argued that notwithstanding MSNBC's nominally liberal political leanings, Comcast's policy agenda affects the channel's editorial decisions. Yes, I would be among those observers. A study by the watchdog Media Matters found that aside from the Ed Show that Ed Schultz hosts, the Trans-Pacific Partnerships came up only twice on MSNBC's evening programming over the period from August 2013 through January 2015. MSNBC canceled the Ed Show in July 2015. The Intercept noted that Comcast has lobbied for the passage of the TPP, a controversial 12-nation trade pact that the Obama administration negotiated that Congress has yet to vote on. So here, Huffington Post doing a good job of noting, hey, listen, it looks like if you don't have the approved positions of Comcast, that doesn't make it on the air at MSNBC too much. But you're really just touching at the tip of the iceberg there. The reality is, good luck trying to find an MSNBC host that was talking about the Comcast-Time Warner proposed merger. Anyone talking negatively about that merger, saying that the corporate media would get even larger and hold more power and be even more conservative on MSNBC? I challenge you to find it, right? You're not going to be able to. And then you've got net neutrality. Comcast was against net neutrality. They wanted to be able to control the internet because they're one of the internet service providers. Now, that is a very conservative position. So all those progressive hosts on MSNBC, did they come out roaring for net neutrality? You might find one or two instances of one or two hosts touching on the matter. I didn't see the roar. No, when you work for Comcast, you work for Comcast. And if they don't want net neutrality, you're not going to talk a lot about how their position is dead wrong on that issue. So the idea that even MSNBC is progressive, well, other than the half a dozen hosts who have just been fired who are all progressive or moved off the air in one way or another, that would be one indication. Other than the fact that they are bringing more standard neutral, in other words, pro-establishment anchors on, and they have a giant block of Republican programming in the morning, you also have the fact that their interests are conservative, their interests are pro-corporate. And so, of course, if you get million-dollar paychecks from those guys, you're not going to rock that boat. That's so obvious, let alone Time Warner's interests, let alone Fox News. So I love that it's a controversial position that perhaps the corporate media would be in favor of corporate interests. Of course they are. And corporate interests, I can assure you, are not liberal interests. All right, now, Bernie Sanders did have a suggestion for this. I actually disagree with it a little bit. Let's hear first.
What's the solution to corporate media?
I think we have got to think about ways that the Democratic Party, for a start, starts funding the equivalent of Fox television. Number two, I think the pressure has got to be put on media to say that, you know what, maybe as a nation, the American people are entitled to hear real discussions on real issues.
So I disagree on two fronts. First of all, I don't want the Democratic Party funding anything. You know what you would get if they did that? You would get a channel that works for the Democratic Party, not for progressives, not for liberals, not for the American people, for the establishment of the Democratic Party. I would argue that channel was MSNBC. Now they've even abandoned that. But at the time that I worked there, I think they pretty much did work for the Democratic Party. Now, again, not because they were liberals, but because they had a Democratic establishment that could decide whether their mergers were going to get approved, whether they were going to win on net neutrality or not. Those were enormous issues. Whether MSNBC makes a profit or not is a small issue to Comcast. Those other issues are billion-dollar issues, multi-billion-dollar issues for Comcast. So, of course, that affects them. I don't want any partisan channel out there that is pro-Democratic Party or pro-Republican Party. Now, on the other hand, if you want to say, hey, here is my clear perspective, conservative, libertarian, progressive, that is an entirely different matter. We're progressives. We're proud of it. We don't hide it. We don't do nonsense like Fox News. Oh, fair and balanced. Who are you kidding, Fox News? But that brings me to my second disagreement, which is I don't want another version of Fox News. They lie on the air all the time. They basically work for the Republican Party, and they have the hilarious slogan of fair and balanced. No, I would rather have something that is honest with the audience. Now, if you're going to do that, though, it can't be funded by the Democratic Party or, the people that fund all of the other politicians. So you'd have to have it come from the grassroots. I wonder if there's a show in the media somewhere that came from the grassroots, has been growing for 10 years, is really large, and is not beholden to any party. And that's already beating CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News online. Hey, Senator Sanders, don't worry. The cavalry has already arrived.